Welcome to a simple ClickUp tutorial that'll help you navigate ClickUp for the first time. I have created a tester workspace, meaning it has no personalization at all, helping you mimic your first time experience in ClickUp. Now I'm going to try and make this as simple as possible. There is so much you can do in ClickUp. You can personalize it to every organization style, personality, even aesthetic that you'd like. However, I'm going to stick with the bare basics to not overwhelm you. And once you start getting more familiarized, then you can start adding all these different features. So first thing that I'm going to talk about is the hierarchy of ClickUp. Then we're going to dive into the tasks, specific tasks. Then we're going to discuss checklists, different subtasks, and different things that you can do in a more specific way inside of the tasks. Then different ways to view your tasks. And then we'll dive into homepage, which is where I'm at right now, and the notifications, which is an incredibly important part of ClickUp, which is that inbox right here. So let's get started. First thing is the ClickUp hierarchy. ClickUp has hierarchy like a building. The workspace is your whole building, right? So imagine this is my client's building, another building, another building. This is the Blissful Step, which is my company. So this is my building, and there's 3 members in my building. This one, for example, has 8 members. So there's 8 people working in this building. Okay. So I could go into my client's building at any time, and I can interact in their building. I can chat with their employees, all of that, and then hop over to my building. Okay, so that's what's cool about it, is that you can be part of different spaces, or workspaces it's called. Okay, in this case, I'm in my tester workspace. So inside of the workspace, there are spaces. Spaces are kind of like the floors within a building. Okay, so you have different floors. Now, the space, I like to usually categorize them as departments within my company. So it could be the marketing department, the coaching department, or clients, or programs, or maybe administration or operations, etc. So that is the space. It's like the biggest hierarchy after, obviously, the company itself. Then we go into folders. And inside of the folders, we have lists. And inside of lists, there are tasks, which in this case, let me create one as an example. So the task has different statuses. Okay, so as you can see, there is the to do, in progress, review, and complete. So it's the stage in which the tasks are at that moment. So there is a way for you to customize that. And you can always put it as simple as just to do and complete, which would make sense for a quick checklist. Maybe you treat it as like a weekly checklist that you make, and it doesn't really have stages. It's just, you have to do these things, you do them, and then you complete them, and that's it. But for the majority of the case, we usually use several statuses, because sometimes a task might take more than 2 days. So that's where we kind of change it to in progress, and then to review if we have to delegate it to someone else, and then complete. There, as you can tell, ClickUp gives you different types of ideas in terms of like what you can use for statuses. I usually personalize this for clients, and for myself, I just go ham in customs, and you can move it to a done status so it can be marked as complete but not disappear, and so on and so forth. But again, like I said, I'm not going to make this too complicated. You can pretty much personalize the statuses however you like, and every department is going to work different. So what just happened there, that this disappeared, by the way, you just simply click on this little link that will help you either collapse the sidebar or be able to view it like this. Okay, so to give us more space, I'm going to go ahead and click on it. So we have the statuses, like I said, and the default status is always going to be to-dos and complete. But in this case, I changed it to do, in progress, review, and complete. Now, there's also different ways that you can view this list. So as you can see, there are different views that I can see here. This one's the list view, which is going to just be, let me just add another one, example, example, example. Okay, so in this case, we have See how it just piles it up like a list. But say I want to see it as a board. I can do that as well. And these are the same exact tasks. You can just see it more of like a Kanban sort of organization, and you can drag and drop however you like. See? Super simple. And you can see them differently. So it really depends on your organization style. I personally love lists, and that's how I keep them. Now, as you can tell, the order of the statuses became review and progress and to-dos because I changed the statuses here so it reflects automatically here because we're talking about the same exact statuses. I'm sorry, the same exact tasks. So the tasks here are the same as the tasks here. They're just different ways to view them. But say, for example, I don't really want to have the to-dos on the bottom and the review on the top. I simply go to this option where it says group, meaning how do you want to group your tasks? I want to group them right now by statuses, but in reverse of what it's looking like right now. So I click on it and it now brings it back to the top. So now I like this a little bit better. You could also group them by assignee, which in this case is me. And then you can group them by priority. Right now there's no priority, but say I can do, this is high priority. So usually when people don't do due dates, then they usually use priority. So say I want to group it by priority, but then I have priority here and then priority here is kind of redundant. I can always hide that custom field. And now I have it divided by priority and everything looks cleaner. Okay. Or I could also do it by tags, custom fields. I mean, you can go ham. I'm not going to get into the complicated, side of ClickUp because it really doesn't have to be. Okay. Then there are different types of views. You can have calendar views. This is super helpful when planning, like, for example, events or a launch or even social media. So how this works is you just simply add a view and nothing's going to show up because nothing has a due date. But say I add that this starts on the 15th and ends on the 19th. And then maybe this is only due on the 26th. Okay. So if I click here, now you can see that this is a week-long task and this is just a one-day task. Okay, so the way that I did that, I just clicked on due date and clicked it starts this date. Let me just move this. It starts this date, ends this date. And you can even add the time, but I don't go that specific. You could also create recurring tasks. So that is by going in here and you can set recurring task and you can put it weekly, monthly, yearly, days after, or custom, which is the one that I use a lot because I usually like to be reminded of things more than just once a week. So I put, okay, I want you to remind me Tuesday and Fridays, every other, and then do that forever, pretty much. So when I click yes, this little icon's going to pop up, which means it's going to remind me every time. So when I click complete, it'll take a second, but it'll pop up again. There we go. So it's all automated and it's a super simple way to use tasks. Now, speaking about tasks, I want to talk to you about what's inside of the task. There we go. So inside of the task, there are different buttons, some more things, but this is honestly where the majority of the communication is going to happen. So the first thing would be the name of the task. I always recommend naming the task something more than just one word. So instead of going, I need to check email, that's really not going to tell you much. And when your team or someone else that you're delegating sees this, it's not really sharing much with them, right? So be super specific about how you name your task. Like, for example, check Stacy's email about something, okay? And then you assign yourself if that's for yourself. You can also assign different members, but in this case, I only have myself since it's a tester workspace. Then we have the dates where you can put the start date, due date, again, set recurring task right there. This is where the status is located. And then we have the description. The description is pretty awesome because you can do absolutely everything here. It's kind of like a Google Doc, honestly. So the handy dandy command sort of shortcut for everything is /. When you click /, you can see all these different gadgets that you have. You have a table that you can create and do different things here. You can also do You can add a template, you can add a button, you can add a checklist, which is super helpful sometimes. You could also do different headings. So say you want to say something a little bit more formal, you can quote something, you can mention a page. So, and inside of ClickUp, there is documents as well. So you can mention specific documents, you can mention a person and they'll get notified. You can even put any, Figma designs or YouTube. You can do so many things. Just know that you can do pretty much anything inside of a task. That's pretty much the most important idea. Then you also say, for example, I highlight this. This little toolbar pops up and you can either pin it and leave it up here all the time or let it float around with you, just like now. Oh. Well, I'm going to have to refresh real quick. There we go. You can let it kind of float around with you. And then, there we go, default. That's what I meant to do. Perfect. Then we have attachments. So in here, you can attach anything, drag and drop, like pretty much any picture, file, anything like that. And it'll save both in the activity or down here. So what's cool about the activity view is that you can see everything that has happened in this task since I created it. Who created it? When did I create it? If I changed any statuses, if I tagged anyone, if I changed the name, which is super helpful for backtracking any sort of, information regarding what happened with this space. One of the things that I love about the ClickUp is that it just keeps you updated on nonverbal communication. So everyone will be updated on every single move. So people don't have to ask questions that, are pretty much already laid out here in the communication of ClickUp. So if you have, it allows us to have boundaries. It allows us to be clear and really resourceful. Another thing would be to start discussing about the communication inside of the task. So the majority of my communication with my team usually happens in the comments section here. So we always like to be specific about what we're talking about. So I always, if my team wants to talk to me about Stacy's email, they're not going to text me about Stacy's email. They're not going to voice note me or call me. They're going to put it in the chat of the task of Stacy's email. So everything gets, compartmentalized into tasks. So this is super helpful. Here, what you could do, you can obviously see the task history. You can assign to comment to people. You can talk to them as there. You also have the / here as well. You have a reply option. So say, for example, I comment here. I am able to reply to this thread. I can like it. I can add my emoji. I can apply here as well. I can edit it. If I send it and I didn't like what I put, I can always edit it, which is really nice. I use that all the time. And I can also send voice notes. So if there's something super hard to explain or you just don't want to waste your time, you can send a voice note. You can send a screen recording like Loom. So super versatile. It literally replaces Slack 90% of the time, and it just helps us a ton. Now, when it comes to watchers are this little bell right here. This little bell helps people get notified without being tagged. So as soon as someone gets tagged once, they get added as a watcher. If someone comments, they get added as a watcher. If someone creates the task, they get added as a watcher, unless you change the settings in your ClickUp, but usually that's how it goes. And it's helpful because say you forgot to tag someone, but they were going back and forth with you in that conversation, it's okay because they're added as a watcher. You can always take yourself off as a watcher, so then you don't get notified on what's happening in the task. But if you are in the loop of what's going on, or if you want to be in the loop, you can always add yourself as a watcher. And you can personalize it however you like, because you're going to start getting a lot of notifications. So you want to make sure that you're adapting those notifications as to what's important to you. Then we have the priority section, which is up here, this little hidden bar. So as I said, you can add priorities here. You can also time track, which is super helpful for when you're onboarding someone for the first time and you want to make sure that they're using their time correctly. If you're auditing a certain process, you can also time track here. You can add a cover image, which I never do, but it's kind of nice. You can just make things, if this is a task you're going to be using over and over again, might as well make it a nice one. And then have here different tags, which is, again, a little bit more advanced. Now, this is super cool. I love one of these, this particular, this is the ID of the task. So everything has an ID. When you right click a task, this pops up, this nice little menu, and you can copy the link. So remember when I said that all the descriptions are kind of like documents. So if I paste that, it'll give me access automatically to that particular task that I copied. So in terms of communication, I can go, hey, regarding this task. So everything has its ID. It's right here. You can also find it if you right click on a task. You can also find it in every list. Every list has its link. Every space has its link. Every document, everything has its link, which is super nice when you want to track certain things. And then outside of the organization, if you want to share a task outside of their organization, you can do that as well. One of the things that I love about ClickUp is that you can pretty much have a whole flow yourself here, and then say a client needs to view it, but you don't want them to obviously have to download ClickUp and do all those things. So you can always publicly share right here. You can copy public link and then pretty much there we go, and that'll kind of you'll view it as a viewer, a guest, not a actual user, which is super nice. It's one of the things I love about ClickUp. You can always hide it and have it as an internal team thing. Okay, then we have subtasks. So subtasks, you can either create it in here, you add the subtask. It works just like a task. It's just a subtask under here. So say, for example, there's several things that I have to check in Stacy's email. So I put check the who she CC'd, and then check the date or whatever it is. So therefore, there are several things that I got to check, and they all have the same statuses than the parent task. Okay, and they all have their priority and due date, but you can't do a sub task, right? So in that case, if you want to do a sub situation, you usually either do it here in the description, or you can also add different custom fields, which is a little bit more advanced. Okay. Oh, so did you see how I went back to the main task? So I went here, and it said check Stacy. So this is the parent task, and when there's this emoji, it means this is a subtask. So I go back here and I see that. Okay, those are subtasks. Then we have we have checklists in here. We can create either a subtask or a checklist. The difference between these two is that a subtask has, again, it's not just like a quick thing that you got to do and it's just check off 1, 2, 3, 4, but more like there's steps, right? It's a longer task. But a checklist is easier because you can just create a quick little checklist. You create a checklist here, and so now you can check it off, and it's a little bit less specific or in-depth like a subtask. Okay, alrighty. So the home page. So the home page 3.0 version of ClickUp, which is this tutorial, it's incredibly aesthetic, I will say. Before, it didn't have this option to edit the layout, but now we can, which I'm super stoked about. So I'll tell you how I like to organize my homepage, but again, you can always do what you like. There's so many different, cards that you can work with. So recent obviously means everything that I just did. It gives me kind of like a timestamp of everything that I just did. I don't necessarily like seeing that. Same thing with the calendar. I use Google Calendar. I like to have those separate. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out. Same thing with lineup. Lineup is pretty much things that you like to prioritize to make more of a concise list, so you can drag and drop things to your lineup. I also don't use that. I use my personal list, which is pretty much everything that I'm tagged in. It doesn't matter what department. So let's go back here. Say I have 5 different departments and I'm tagged in 5 different things in 5 different lists, all these things. It all gets put here super organized, and I really like my personal list. Assigned to me also works, but actually the difference between these two is, okay, here we go. This one consolidates all tasks across different lists, and this one keeps track of the personal tasks in a list that is only visible to you. So this would be kind of like a collaborative one. So again, you know what, to make things simple, take this one out. This gives you all your tasks across all the different boards, like that makes more sense for me in the beginning, at least. Then you have reminders, which I'll explain once we talk about the inbox, and then assigned comments and your work. Again, it's kind of divided differently. You have things that are due today, things that are overdue. Actually, this is actually one of my favorite ones. So if I were you, I just uncheck all of this stuff and stick to just one little guy in your homepage, and that's it. And don't overcomplicate yourself. Once you start using ClickUp a little bit more, you'll understand how your organization style starts kind of blossoming and you start organizing yourself differently. Okay. Lastly, let's talk about the notification section. This is by far one of the most important things you need to understand fully in the beginning, because if not, you're going to get overwhelmed. And that's exactly what I'm trying to avoid in this video, which I'm making it as quick as I can on the basic stuff with ClickUp. So you always want to have inbox zero. Inbox zero means you're winning, pretty much. And the most important thing here is understanding how to divide your like how your notifications are divided. So other means it's going to be a little hard because I don't have any notifications. So to explain the inbox, I'm going to go ahead and log into my own ClickUp. Again, don't get overwhelmed. I've been in ClickUp for more than 2 years, so it makes sense that I have a lot of different departments and a lot of different things. But I do need to show you my inbox so it can make a little bit more sense to you. So I'm going to go ahead and unclear these 2 notifications so then it can pop up over here. Oh, those right there. Let me see if there's any comments here. There we go. So now it's a little bit more realistic. So I see that I have a notification. I'm going to go in here and it's going to separate it by due date. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do when I have notifications is making sure that I am clearing them. Okay. So you could either snooze if you want to be reminded later. Say, you know what, for this, I'm going to be reminded later, and it'll disappear, which is good. It'll just remind you later, and it's going to be in the snooze tab right here in case you want to go back and, and clear it. Then, for example, this one, I want to go ahead and click on it. And I clicked on it and it appeared where it lives, right? So this is the comment of my assistant that came up, and this is the task where it lives. So now I can open it up. And there's a description, there's a chat that we have back and forth right here. And then it tells me where this lives, which is in the pending list of my assistant, and all the hierarchy that we talked about. So now say I want to exit out and I want to reply to her. I can reply directly from my notifications, which is really nice. And on the right-hand side is sometimes a little confusing. It confuses people. So just feel free to just focus on this one or just simply open the task right away so you don't get confused. But if you go back, this is where it says, hey, Rosana commented on this particular task, open it up. This is where you can do all of the, you can change statuses here, you can reply here, all the things. If you actually want to open the task, you can go ahead and open it here and just see everything a little bit better. So as you can see, I changed the status to in progress, from in progress to ready, and then she changed it from ready to closed. So I don't have to ask her, hey, did you get this done? She already told me she got it done by clicking on closed. So those are the things that I love about ClickUp. Now that is direct contact, when people tag me, when someone likes my comment or whatever it is. Now there's an other section in the notification inbox, which is just little things that I don't necessarily need to reply to, but it would be nice for me to see. So here my project manager removed a due date. It notified me again that my assistant changed this from ready to closed and this task is overdue. So again, I might not need to know, but it would be nice for me to see. So then I go in here, I see that as overdue. I'm going to go ahead and open it and I'm going to change it to tomorrow because I need to remember those dates. I need to do things with those dates. Actually, I didn't follow my own advice. I'm going to do here, book plane tickets for upcoming events. See, it makes a little more sense. Okay, so then I clear it, right? So I can go ahead and clear all, or go one by one and just simply clear it. Now, say for example, I do want to address this, but not right now, but I don't want to snooze it either. I just want a moment. I can always add it to my tray, which is another one of my favorite things, and say I clear this, I clear everything else, everything's cleared. I still have my snoozed task, and I have also a little, list of things that I minimized. So it's kind of like a bookmark, like my own little tabs, right? So I can either pin it and have it all displayed like this, or I can unpin it and have it all here as a task tray. I like it like this. I always have my team meetings like this, which are the documents and stuff like that. So it helps to have things here when I just don't want to have anything in my inbox, but I know that I have to do these things. Okay. And that is it for now. I hope that this was a not overwhelming experience for you. Again, your workspace is going to look simple and personalized to you. So if you're patient and slowly try to build what's needed, what you need, and what you're craving, then it'll all make sense. Once you start adding templates and other people's ways of organization, that's when things start getting overwhelming. But I'm here if you need me, and I hope you enjoyed.